All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session, and excuse me, happy Tuesday to you. Happy Tuesday and Christmas holiday week. Very, very slow trading that we've got going on. All right, so we're going to go through our majors, and we're going to start obviously with the euro dollar. So let's get over there. And we've talked a little bit about this morning at the euro dollar hitting the 109.60. This is the 618 retracement. I think most people expect us to reach the 109.60 level. You heard Paul earlier talking about a 109, 109.70 that he's looking for. But as we make our approach there, you'll notice that on the hourly charts, relative strength is now starting to diverge. You notice this. Here, let me grab a pen. You'll notice here that we're closing in on, well, we had a brief new high. See this? Brief new high. And see how relative strength did not give us a new high. It's actually a lower high. So a little divergent relative strength. So that, for me, suggests we might not even make it there. And when everybody's trying to get us to one spot, we might actually fall short of it. But 109.60, I believe, is going to be good support today. Or resistance 109.60. Okay, and we're still in a range, and support's going to be 109. 109 was support overnight. If we get a stronger U.S. GDP, I mean, we might push to 109, but 109 should support us today, I would think. We'll see if there, we'll see if we can break below that, but I kind of doubt it for today. I think we're probably, these are just very tight ranges. So even on brief new highs, we might extend the range a little bit, but still very tight ranges. Look at the cable. Pound's new lows. Like I said, this is the one that we have to, this is where I think you're going to see the bulk of the movement because the pound is so weak. So we were talking about this earlier, this morning about, the problem with the pound is it hasn't bounced. It hasn't bounced at all. Think about all the traders that have been buying the euro dollar, or they watched the euro dollar rally, and look at the cable just continuing lower. All right, this is wow, that's crazy. I'm sorry, I was just reading something else. Very, very crazy. Hasn't gone below freezing in Central Park. Never happened in December. It's nuts. For those of you guys that live in the Northeast, how warm is it right now? For those of you that live in the Northeast United States, how crazy is this weather for you guys? Just curious. Anyway, it says it's biking weather every day. Eric says about 50 here. He lives in Pennsylvania. Jeff says it's going to be 65 here and tomorrow in Chicago. That's crazy. John says it's going to be 60s the next few days in Massachusetts. Wow, that's crazy. David says, Blake, even in London, it's been super mild. We haven't had a really cold spell yet. Lynette says, unseasonably warm, harming ski revenues. Greg says it's unseasonably warm here in the UK. 60s here, near 70 Christmas, and Eric said, and Alan says it's 70s in DC. That's crazy. That's nuts. Nuts. Oh my God. Yeah, I know, Randall. It's El Nino. I understand. I understand the weather shifts, but it's crazy how warm it is. Just crazy, 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 crazy. Robert says, I don't know what you guys are complaining about. It's 104 here in Melbourne, Australia. Dude, that's crazy hot, Robert. I remember going to I was in when I was in Melbourne. It was November, and it was not 104, but it was hot. It was definitely warm. Um, Witt says it's supposed to be 77 degrees in Atlanta on Christmas. That's great. You guys are going to have a warmer Christmas than in Phoenix. In Phoenix, it's going to be like 60 degrees high, somewhere around there. Like, yeah, that's crazy. When the desert, which I live in, when the desert is warmer than, oh my God. Okay, anyway, enough about that. So as far as the cable goes, it's just crazy, crazy, crazy. Um, so we're at this the 786, and like I said, I'm at a point wondering how far are we going to drop when the cable goes, because as I was explaining to you earlier this morning, we haven't bounced, and so because we have not bounced, actually I got to keep that level. Because we haven't bounced, the risk is now that we're going to start falling. Especially if the euro starts to pull back, especially if we get favorable U.S. data. Um, I'm assuming the 127% extension and maybe even the 161% extension here is going to get touched. So 127% extension comes in at 148. Okay, we got to imagine that becomes a near-term target for the cable. If you're short, resistance still at 149. Okay, 149 here. Well, actually it's 149.50, right? I guess it's 149.50, but okay. We're in a range, but this thing could possibly go bearish. It's just it's the weakness has been very, very persistent. Um, so this thing could go bearish, but we'll keep range for now. Let's go over the Swissy. The Swissy's sitting on support at 99 cents. Yes, I'm still long. I'm glad I sold half of my position, last week when we ripped up to the to this parity. Right here, I sold half my position, but I'm still long, and just sitting in it. But we're sitting at 99 cent support. We've there's the potential for a move lower, especially if the euro dollar goes to 109.60. So a move to 101 or 98.50 seems very possible. That would be a 786 retracement that comes in around 98.50. We have the 618 that comes in at 98.80. So this looks more doable, especially if the euro just rallies another 15 pips. The Swissy down to 98.80. $98.80. Resistance for the Swissy. We'll just be this resistance here. This hourly. 99.35. Tight ranges, guys and gals. All right, let's go over to the yen. Okay, so here's the dollar yen. So the dollar yen, very tight, but we're holding below this, this 121 level. Support, you can see all these spike lows that come in at 120.85, but below that, this is an alarm, but it's actually a trend line as well. I'm going to write down two numbers today. So 120.85 and 120.60. Okay, so 120.60, 120.85. Oops. Okay, and then resistance for the dollar yen. Let's say we get a decent number. That's capping. You can see it's capping prices all through here. So that would be at 121 by the time we get up there, 121.20. All right, and we're in a range. Okay, let's go into the dollar Canadian. So the dollar Canadian, okay, so you got to be a little careful here, because what a lot of FX traders probably aren't noticing right now is crude oil is actually starting to roll a little bit. And so as we approach the support, 139, that comes in 139.12, right? So I'll write down 139.10. That should be support, and then obviously resistance is 140. But let me do something else here. Let me remove this. We don't. That all that was right there was the flag pattern, right? Hold on, really quick. Hmm. Okay. We'll just keep an eye on this just because we're trading below this trend line, but that comes in at 139. Let's just call it 139.10. It's harder to rely on trend lines and technicals when the liquidity is really poor, just so you all know. I mean, when the liquidity is poor, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Because there's not as much, there's not as many people moving, pushing prices back and forth, okay? 131.10, and then resistance is 140, obviously. That's key. Let's go over to the Kiwi. Now the Kiwi has found some pretty key resistance right here at 68.35. Okay, we got a lot of spike highs up here. Here, let's do this. I have a very small Kiwi short from yesterday I'm still sitting in. It's kind of like the euro dollar. I'm just kind of letting it grind higher. Not really too worried about it, but 68.35 is resistance right now. That is resistance, and then even beyond that's the 69-cent level, which is up here. Okay, so you got to pay attention to that. Even if we break these highs, there's a lot of spike highs over here. Let's go back over to the hourly. That resistance right here at 67.80, that'll probably be pretty significant on the way back down. Right through here. So 67.80 should offer some support on the way back down. Okay, let's take a look at the Aussie. Be able to get all our majors through here pretty easily today. Okay, so here's the Aussie dollar. So the Aussie dollar pushed this trendline resistance we had drawn out from yesterday. Through those spikes. You can see them right through here. All right, we're through those highs, and let's figure out if there's any fibs there. Actually, you know what? I think we just have to pay attention to this horizontal resistance that comes through. That comes through at 72.75. And actually, that'll be support. So let me remove that. I'm going to put it in right through here. Because that looked like a nice little wedge breakout. Like this. So that means it's going to be probably pretty good on the way back down. So 72 cents is support. 72.75. Let's get rid of this. Range. Let's go take a look at the dollar index. That Turkish lira is still ripping, huh? All right, so here's the dollar index intraday. So we cracked through the support overnight. This we had resistance. That was following the Fed meeting. We've actually closed that gap for the most part, and then we're kind of bouncing here. So let's check something. Let's take low to high. Matter of fact, do you know what this was? That was a double bottom. That was a double bottom extension right there. Totally was right here. Bottom, bottom, break, kind of fluttered around. That was a double bottom extension. Basically this distance from here to here to here to here, same. Interesting. All right, so here's the, oops. So you notice here's the fibs. Here's the 50%. You know what? I really need to do this. Let me make an adjustment while we're here because I'm sick of looking at these. This I don't like the way this looks. Excuse me, really quick. Yeah, that's fine. We'll keep it there. Let's see if that, I didn't save it, so I don't know if that changed it or not. It didn't. Or did it? It did, actually. Gives it a little bit different definition so we can just see the different colors. Okay, so and that 50% 618, the definition is not too different, but you can see we're right at the 50% retracement, basically. Okay, so we're right at the 50% retracement, so that is holding a support. So let's get rid of this, and that comes in at 98.20 is support. resistance is going to be back here on any rally, so back at 98.50. Tight ranges, guys. We're in a range. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to do the peso, Norwegian krona, Swedish krona, and then we'll continue on with we'll just continue on with the questions before the GDP numbers. Dollar's starting to firm up a little bit. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session. And Swissy is actually trading at new lows, just below 99 cents. Dollar's kind of wavering here, just you know, sliding a little bit. But overall, still very, very slow, choppy trading for the most part. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the Mexican peso. Let's see if we can find anything going on over here. So here's the US dollar Mexican peso, and that is a doorknob. There's not a lot going on there. Let's go over to the daily chart. Okay, we still have a really strong trend line in play. We're coming down a little bit right now here on the daily chart, but just not a lot of activity here. I guess if you're you know, trading the U.S. dollar Mexican peso, overall, you know, it's been pretty slow going. Okay, not a lot going on there. Let's go over to the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona. It's pulled back a little bit because because you know, crude was slightly bouncing back, but you can see we're just in this wedge, and I think it's an ascending wedge. I mean, it's kind of like looking at the cable, very similar, you know, but you don't know if it could. I mean, this is one of those things where it could break out pretty quickly to the upside, especially if crude oil decided to roll over. So anyway, hey guys and gals, how many of you know Amir Dulashahi? How many of you know who Amir is? Amir Dulashahi. He's going to join us. He's going to join us tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning to say hello. So for those of you that know Amir, and yeah, he's sorry, he just texted me. That's why I'm mentioning it right now. He's going to join us tomorrow morning. He wants to wish everybody, you know, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. He, you know, is very appreciative of what all of us traders have done for him over the years. He's made his move to Georgia, so he's gonna be joining us tomorrow morning at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Amir Dulashahi. So just it'll be really cool. You know, just because if you guys don't. Well, I'll tell you the story about Amir. Let me just finish up with these, because these aren't. I don't think there's anything to really do with the Norwegian krona or the Swedish krona. You know, you can see we're just kind of bouncing around. Actually, the Swedish krona we might 840 to 860, still same crap, right? So if you guys don't know who he is, so Amir was a wise trade trader. He'd been using our products since I want to say realistically, he'd been using our products to trade with since probably around 2000, 2003, something like that. Maybe 2000, no, maybe 2004, 2005. Anyway, we used to have like conferences here in Dallas, and we'd have like 2,000 people show up, 3,000 people show up. He's been several of those. When I used to travel, to people's cities, he would come in. Well, I mean, I would travel to people's cities to teach people how to trade. But this is before we had webinars. Um, he used to, whenever I was in like the DC area, or Maryland, or if I was near Baltimore, or in Philadelphia, he'd drive out to come see me. And I've met him probably about, I want to say, probably around 8 or 9 times in person. I met his wife in person one year, April, and he'd been a trader in our chat room for many years. And so well, let's see, back in about 2011, about 4 years ago. I'll tell you exactly when it was. Here, dual. Okay, here he is. Uh, in 2011, here, I'm going to show you this story. Frederick police confirm hospital shooting victim was stabbed in March. So back in March of 2011, okay, I'm trying to close this. This is the Baltimore Sun. Oh, dang it. Okay. So back in March of 2011, so this has been 4.5 years ago. So Amir, he'd been in our chat room. He was probably one of the most helpful. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. He was like the most helpful people in our chat room. He was really very, very active in the markets, a scalper, kind of like Paulie, real scalper type of trader. Always talking to everybody, just like, what can I help you with? Hey, you seem like you're struggling. Let me help out. And he just always one of the best for people. So back in March of 2011, I found out that he had been stabbed at his home. So he was playing poker with his guy friends on a Saturday night. His wife and his daughter, who she's got to be 15 now, his daughter, who was like 10 at the time, they went to New York to visit her family, for the weekend. And so he's like, well, I'm going to go out and with my guy friends, play some poker. Came home at like midnight, right? He walked into a home invasion. So he walked in, and there was 2 people robbing him. And so he, obviously tried to stop them. They stabbed him multiple times, and they left him for dead on his floor. They beat him up, stabbed him. He got stabbed like 7 times, and he woke up in his pile of blood at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and he almost bled out. Called the emergency room, whatever. The 911, and so help came. So when I found out about that, we were like, oh my God, he's a trader in our chat room. He's like, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy how that happened to you. And he was for the next several months, he had very limited participation, in our chat rooms. Obviously, he's like, yeah, hey guys, I'm still not really feeling too well. Anyway, about 6 months later, he was he had some complications due to the stabbing, like infections in his stomach, where he'd been stabbed multiple times. So he was going to the hospital he was going to have surgery the next day, and he had to go and bring in a sample or whatever. So he got held up at gunpoint in the hospital parking lot in Maryland, in Baltimore, and the assailant was like, hey, I want to, give me your car and your wallet. And he's like, God, take whatever you want. Here's my keys. Here's my wallet. Just please don't shoot me. And the guy, the assailant, the robber, um, took his keys, took his wallet, kicked him down the stairway. Apparently, he was backed up to a stairway. Kicked him down the stairway, so he fell down the stairway. And when he was at the bottom of the stairway, the attacker shot him multiple times. One of the bullets went into his T8 vertebrae and got lodged in there. Anyway, as you can imagine, he had a lot of complications, because of that. Strokes, paralyzed, half of his body had been paralyzed. Now this is a guy that is he's just a couple years older than me. He's like 50, maybe 51 or 52 now, and with a young daughter, really pretty and nice wife. I mean, the family is just they're just really great people. And he had two car dealerships. He sold those because he wanted to trade full time, and he was trading full time for several years, and that's how he was making his living. Well, he basically was paralyzed. He had stuttered. He can't, had major strokes. So what we did as a community is every year we would try to support him, buy his daughter gifts, make sure his family had food. A lot of us would, we'd take our gains for the day. We'd, give them to Amir and his family so they could eat, and so it was many years of him struggling with the state, and finally, from what I understand, I don't know the details because he's not privy to talk about the details because of all the legal issues, but the state is basically taking care of him and his family after years of fighting this battle, taking care of him and his family for the rest of his life. So he said, I'm done with the cold weather of Baltimore, and they moved to Georgia, on an island, and I'm trying to think of the name of the island. Anyway, moved to Georgia to be with family, and so that's where he's at right now. So he's going to call in tomorrow. Obviously, he's had speech therapy, so his stuttering is, last time we talked to him, wasn't as bad, and hopefully it's better now. But he's in a he's going to be he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So, but a lot of us, like when I say we, I'm talking about a lot of you, has helped Amir and his family over the years, and so he holds a very special place in our heart. And if you ever want to, you can. All you have to do is check out. Just you can. I'll put it in the chat box here. Read a little bit about him. And you can actually, search his name. You can see that there's other articles about, the incident. It was really sad, but we all came together as a community, and I'm really proud of us, that have really helped him out. When I say us, I'm talking about, all of us that have really helped him out. By the way, the dollar Swiss has slipped to support right here. FYI, we're at support ahead of the numbers. Euro's hitting highs. We're approaching the 109.60 level. Dollar is, notice how the Euro's moving higher, the cable's barely lifting. Aussie's hitting new highs. So the dollar's pretty weak going into the data that we have coming out here shortly. So just a little heads up, guys. We have advanced GDP final GDP coming up in just about 15 minutes. So the dollar is sliding into the news. So anyway, it'll be nice to have him on. He basically wants to come on and update everybody where he's at and what's happening with him. So that'll be really nice to hear from him. Let's see. Roy says, good morning, Blake. The pound yen went below 180 this morning. Your thoughts, please. You and your family have a Merry Christmas and a great 2016. Thank you.